This game was provided to Crit Happen by Dragon's Lair Comics and Fantasy. Check them out online at dlair.net for all your comic and gaming needs.
Hi everyone, it's Tox from critshappen.com. Thanks for watching and welcome back. Today we've got a critical review sponsored by Dragon's Lair in Austin, Texas of Quarriors Quartifacts. There's a lot of Q's in this review, so get Quarretti or something like that. So this is the 5th expansion in a long-running WizKids line of dice building games. This came out a couple of years ago as just the original Quarriors, and the concept behind it was that you're going to be acquiring dice instead of cards as you build up your capabilities throughout the game. The idea was the different sides of the dice would be determining what part of the card you're going to use. So there's some parts of, or some sides of the dice that are going to have what's called quiddity, which is the primary resource in the game. And then there's going to be different faces that will represent different versions of creatures or different versions of spells. Some could have burst abilities and have even stronger abilities based on what their cards say. And each creature would have different versions of themselves, as well as the spells would have different versions of themselves. So you could have a regular character, a strong character, and a mighty character. They would each do somewhat the same mechanic, but as they got stronger, they would have bigger impacts into the game. What that did is it allowed for a lot of replayability inside of the game, in that you could play one game with a regular character, another game with the strong version, and another game with the mighty version, and constantly be changing it up. Subsequently, this is, I believe, the 4th expansion, so the 5th set altogether. Each expansion has added different capabilities. Some have added the ability of some creatures to have locking mechanisms where they would lock themselves in and give you extra abilities. Some have given you extra things, like in this one is questing and quartifacts, which we'll talk about in a second. And then some have given you corrupted dice and kind of negative benefits or benefits that would help you and negatively impact your opponent. The big thing, though, that has always come about whenever you're talking about Quarriors is that it is 100% dice driven, which means you are at the mercy of how you roll. Whatever you roll is what you're going to have to be faced with. Some people really like that, some people really don't. Now, we have never really rated a previous version of Quarriors. We did an original review of the original Quarriors when it came out, but we weren't doing crits, hits, and misses then. So this is really going to be the first time we've had the opportunity to apply that to one of these games. So I'm really interested in jumping into it. I'm sure you're really interested in jumping into it, but there are some things to know before we dive headfirst into the pool of dice. The first thing is that this is an expansion and really cannot be played on its own. You need to have either the original base or the quest for Quarmageddon. Again, I'm telling you, I'm going to be quarreling up all my words throughout this whole thing. But either one of those, the Quarmageddon base set, Quarmageddon expansion or the base set, I think will help you in terms of playing with this. You can't play it on its own. Primarily because you're not going to be given any of the basic dice, the portal, the basic quiddity dice, and the assistants, which you will need. But more importantly, there's only a set handful of new creatures and new spells. Everything you see out in front of me is what you get. So there's 5 new creatures, which are all great. The artwork is beautiful. There's 2 new spells, which are devilishly good. And then you have a new generic basic card, which is a Squire. We'll talk a little bit about him during gameplay and what he does and how he helps out. But more importantly, before we jump into our gameplay and show you how to play this game, the big things are these 3, which are the Quartifacts, which are quest cards. Now, in this game, there are 3 different Quartifacts that you can go after. And you're going to use a different amount of them based on the number of players that are in the game. The first is the Holy Quail. Yes, the Holy Quail. The second is Excalibur. The third is the Triclops Skull. Now, all 3 of them have very, very big impacts to the game, and it adds an entirely new mechanism called questing to the base setup of the game. We're going to take some liberties and assume that you are familiar with Quarriors from a basic standpoint. If you're not, highly suggest to check them out on BoardGameGeek.com or at WizKids.com, and you can learn quite a bit about the gameplay and the different steps around it. But in this game, when you're summoning creatures, you're going to have options to send them on quests as well. Now, to send people on quests is simple. You just send a creature at a quest, and you put them out there with one of your markers denoting that they're your creatures. The thing is they're not alone out there. There's other creatures in the wilds that your opponents are going to be capturing and going to be sending after your questing creatures. Similar to how you will attack creatures or opponents' creatures in their ready pools, when you have people already on a quest, you can send your characters to challenge them on that quest and fight them and defeat them. If you're the attacker, you're going to get some bonuses because you're going to get glory for everybody that you kill on that fight or on that challenge. But more importantly, at the beginning of your turn, if you have your creatures are the ones that are here at a quest, as long as the total amount of their levels equals or exceeds the level of the quest, which is 1 for the Holy Quail, 2 for Excalibur, and 3 for the Triclops Skull, then you complete that quest, and you're going to take one of the oversized quest dice, and you're going to roll it immediately. Now, the interesting thing about this is while there are 3 different Quartifacts, there are 4 different versions of those Quartifact cards. So similar to how you could have a regular, a strong, and a mighty character card, you can have an expedition, a search, a hunt, and a quest for that Quartifact. Each side of the die is going to have a different effect based on the card you're playing with. There's 3 sides that have instantaneous benefits. Some will give you glory, some will give you quiddity, and some are like portals and will give you the ability to draw dice and pull dice out of your bag and roll them. Those are going to be applied immediately, and then the die will go back to the questing area. But more importantly, there's sides that are going to have symbols like a shield, a helmet, a sword, a skull, different things that are going to mean different things based on the card. So for example, I'll just take this first one in front of me here. Well, we're going to use Excalibur in the example of gameplay, so I'll go ahead and use the Triclops Skull. If we're on the quest for the Triclops Skull, and we roll a question mark, then we get to capture 1 quarry of a cost of 6 or less for free. So anything that's in the wild that's 6 or less, if we roll that question mark, we'll get it for free. If we get the medallion side, which is it looks like a little medal that you would wear around your neck, then you have found the quartz medallion. One of the things about questing is that just because you go questing doesn't mean you're going to find the object you set out to quest for. There is the actual Triclops Skull, but then there are 2 others in addition to that. Now, the Quartz Medallion says that a creature gains +5 defense. What happens in that case is I've rolled a side that is a Quartifact. I'm going to put that in my ready area, and it's going to stay there almost like a spell until I attach it to a creature. Now, once I attach it to a creature and it goes through its turn of being used, it's going to go back out into the base area of the wilds as well. But I don't have to attach it immediately. I could leave it there. The first thing you'll notice, though, is that each quest only has 2 dice. The challenge with that is in a 3 and 4 player game, and sometimes in a 2-player game, what's going to happen is people will have these dice in their ready areas. Someone can still go questing, and if they achieve the quest, they can swipe one of the dice that's being hoarded by a player who hasn't used it yet. So use it or lose it. The other 2 on this card, for example, are the Rune Bow, which says that a creature doubles its attack value, which is great for attacking. And then the actual Triclops Skull, which on this card says if the creature carrying the skull scores, it earns double glory. So if I have that tied to, let's say, one of the Minotaurs, which is one of the new characters in this game, who would score 3 glory, he would score 6. The questing is a lot of fun, and it's a really great addition to the game, which we'll talk about at the end. But the other big thing is there's a lot of points you're going to be scoring from questing as well. So while we talk a little bit about this in gameplay, the good thing to know as well is that you have a new glory track when you're playing with this expansion. The normal game for a 2-player game ends at 20 glory. For example, now it ends at 25 glory. So everything gets pushed up a little bit higher because you're going to have the opportunity to score much more points when you go questing. So how does all this work? Is it all still luck-based? Well, probably it is because it's all based around dice. But is it fun? Let's go ahead and jump into some example gameplay where me and Mrs. Talk sit down for a 2-player game. We're going to go through and play with the hunt for Excalibur. We're going to play with all the new creatures, add a couple more in to fill out the wilds, and the 2 spells, and fill a 3rd one out for the wilds as well, and go through as much gameplay as we can fit into this little YouTube video. So come with me, grab your Quiddity, grab your Gladiator, and grab all the other Qs and Us that you can get a hold of. And let's jump in to Quarriors Quartifacts. Alright, so Mrs. Tox and myself have a 2-player game using the new Quartifacts expansion. The set itself does not have enough creatures to make the full 7 in the wilds, so we have added in the Strong Ghostly Spirit and the Quake Dragon Mystic, and they're going to be out here filling up the wilds. But everything else are new creatures. So running through real quickly so you can get a look, and we'll put scans in over this. We have the War Pegasus, which is actually my personal favorite one in this new set. I really like the art on the picture, and I think the die effects are really good for all 3 different levels. If you're familiar with Quarriors, there are 3 different levels. There's a regular, a strong, and a mighty. And as you go up, they get more powerful. We're playing with just the regular War Pegasus for this one. Then the next one we have out is the Ancient Guide, and the Ancient Guide is all about summoning more creatures whenever you bring him out as well. We're playing with the Strong Ancient Guide. Then we already talked about the Ghostly Spirit and the Dragon Mystic. In addition, we have the Swarming Pixies, which pretty much are as annoying as you could imagine they would be. The more you have, the better it is for you, the worse it is for your opponent. In this case, we're playing with the Mighty Pixies. And they're going to have an attack value that's going to be varying depending on how many pixies you have in your ready area or questing, which we'll talk about in a second. Then we've got the Knight of Camelot. There is a lot of quah-ing going around in all this set. The Knight of Camelot is all about hurting your opponents really quickly. So like we're playing with the regular Knight of Camelot. And whenever he comes out, you can immediately destroy one creature that is of a lower level than the Knight of Camelot. And of course he has a 1, a 2, and a 3 level on his character's dice sides. And then we've got the Minotaur. In this case we have the Strong Minotaur, and the Minotaur is pretty powerful. He can only be destroyed when 2 or more of your opponent's creatures are attacking it. So he can't be destroyed by a single creature, which is pretty powerful. Then in addition, there's only 2 new spells that you get. There is a Misdirection and there is a Quasar. And just like the other spells, there are charms and incantations and spells and different levels of them. But since there's only 2, we added in a 3rd. In this case, we added in the Growth Charm. But here we have the Misdirection Charm, which is going to basically allow us to potentially force our opponents to reroll dice. And then we're going to have the Quasar, which is fairly powerful. This is a cost of 6. It says after rolling the dice in your active pool, you can cast this spell to search your bag for any 1 die of your choice and place it in your active pool, showing the face of your choice. So it's pretty darn powerful. Now, in addition to all of this, as the normal wild setup, you'll notice that there are 4 cards in the general area. There is the traditional basic Quiddity, the Assistant, and the Portal. However, there is also a new card called the Squire. And the Squire is worth 1 glory if you score him in your ready area, but he is really all about going questing. And if you notice really quickly when you look at the sides of his face, he doesn't have an attack value, but he does have 3 defense value. He's also level 0, so it doesn't cost anything to bring him out, which is really cool. But he says after capturing a Squire, you may capture 1 additional quarry this turn, but not another Squire. So you can capture him and any other die that's out into the wilds as well, which is really kind of cool. He only costs 1, so he's fairly cheap, and because of his high defense, it's going to help with questing. So let's talk about questing for a second. We have 3 different quests that are part of this game. There is the Holy Quail, which is one of the Quartifacts. There is Excalibur, which is one of the Quartifacts, and then there is the Triclops Skull, which is also one of the Quartifacts. Each one, very similar to spells, has 4 different versions. I believe it is the Expedition, the Search, the Hunt, and the Quest for each of them. So there's going to be a lot of varying gameplay because each different version has different options as to what happens on this dice side or the face side that you roll. Now, in a 2-player game, we're only going to be playing with Excalibur. In a 3-player game, you would play with the Quail and the Holy Quail and the Triclops Skull. And then in a 4-player game, you would play with all 3. But to give you an idea, you can kind of see some of the difference in the size of the dice. They're a little bit larger than the regular die. And I actually really like them. And the more you play with them, the more you kind of wish that the regular dice were that size as well. But it's a good way to differentiate them. And these are going to operate much differently than the quarries that you can get from the wild. There's only 2 dice, as you can see, whereas almost everything else has 5 dice. The challenge in a 2-player game is not as hard, but when you get into a 3- and 4-player game, what can happen is you can roll a face of the die that gives you either an ongoing or a permanent type effect or something you could use later on, so it may sit in your ready area. And the challenge is in a 4-player game, if somebody goes questing and obtains that quartifact, they can steal it from someone who hasn't fully used it yet. So there's going to be some immediate benefits to rolling dice when we go questing, and there's going to be some lingering effects, which in a 2-player game probably won't be that much stealing going on, but in a 3- and 4-player game definitely can get into a lot of stealing. In fact, our first game that we played had stealing going on in a 4-player game. So that's the layout of the wilds. Let's also talk real quickly about the glory track. The original glory track only went to 20 in a 2-player game. The new glory track goes all the way to 25 because, as you'll hopefully see as we show you some gameplay, you're going to have a lot more opportunities to gain more points from questing than if the quests weren't involved when we were just playing a normal game of Quarriors. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of the old glory track. We're going to have the new glory track, and we have our counters for red, Mrs. Tox, and green, me, which means she's going to be on fire, and I'm probably going to be envious and jealous of her winning. But you may be asking yourselves, why do we have another block here in front of us? Well, the reason is, number one, we have like every version of Quartifacts, so we have a ton of these little cubes. But the other reason is that when you send your dice questing, you want to put a marker next to the pair or more dice, however many you put out there, to show that those are yours. Because just because you're questing and trying to obtain that Quartifact doesn't mean that you're going to and somebody else can't come up and challenge you for it. In fact, that's going to be a big part of the gameplay, is making sure somebody just doesn't get a free run at a Quartifact. So, the only new rule really that's been thrown in is that when you are summoning creatures, instead of summoning them just to your ready area, you have the option of summoning them to your ready area or summoning them to a quest. Now, if you summon them to a quest, no matter how many you send there, the only glory you're going to score at the beginning of your turn is the glory for the quest. So for example, the Knight of Camelot is 3 glory and the Minotaur is 3 glory. If I send both of them at this quest, which is also 3 glory, I am not going to gain 6 for them being on this quest. I'm going to gain 3, but I'm also going to get one of the Quartifacts dice and I'm going to roll it immediately. That's how questing works. You would choose when you're summoning to send a certain number of creatures towards the quest. If there's already creatures there, they're going to fight over it. We'll show you a little bit of that. And then when they score, they only score the glory for the quest. That's sometimes where having the squire is a big help for making sure that you can secure somebody left on that Quartifact to obtain the die. Other than that, gameplay is just as normal. When you score for a quest versus scoring for glory as normal, you can cull dice. And there's also going to be ways when you're fighting over quests that you can gain glory as well, just for killing people. So we'll talk about that too. But for now, that's a lot of setup that we just went through. We hope that this kind of gets you ready, and then we'll show you a couple of turns of gameplay. All right, we just did a very democratic process and determined who went first. So I'm going to go ahead and go first, and I'm going to shuffle these up or mingle them up. Oh, the other thing too, since we're not going to be questing with these, since it's a 2-player game, we'll go ahead and get those out of here. We can shift this over and actually pull the glory track down a little bit so you guys can see it a little better, hopefully. We may not show a full game of this depending on how quick it goes, but we'll go through and show you some turns and we'll go from there. Alright, so I am going to get 6 dice. Now, the one other thing we forgot to mention before, assistants, if you roll them and bring them out into your ready area, assistants cannot go questing. They hate questing, so no sending assistants questing. All right, so actually that was a pretty good roll. So that looks like 2, 4, 6, 7 quiddity and 1 assistant. That's pretty darn good, actually. All right, I'll spend 1 and I'll bring out my assistant, and then 2, 4, and 6, and I will actually get a squire for 1, and because I'm acquiring him, he says after capturing a squire, you may capture 1 additional quarry this turn, but not another squire, and I'm going to go ahead and get a ghost. I really like the ghosts. So all of those will move technically in my smith pile, but over to my use pile. And that's the end of my turn. I see you're already trying to cheat. That allows you to reroll that and 1 additional die.
I'll roll it.
Yep. Pretty good, and you got a 2 out of it. Wow.
Yeah, so I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Wow, I wonder what you're getting. The Minotaur.
So
all right, that's not bad. They all go to your use pile. Not bad. Okay, so beginning of my turn, I'm going to score my assistant, which will give me 1 glory. So I will go ahead and move him up there, and then I'm going to cull my assistant. So I'm going to put him back there because they're not going to help me much for questing or anything else. So I will be leading the charge with 1 to nothing. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and another assistant. So let's go ahead and I'll bring the assistant out, which leaves me with 2, 4, 5, and I am going to go ahead and get the growth charm spell for 4, which will leave me with 1, and then everything goes over here. All right, your turn.
Easy there.
Look, you're already even your rerolls. All right.
I am going to reroll these 2. Okay, so that gives me 4, 5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to use this one to bring the assistant out.
Mm-hmm.
And with 4, 5, I shall acquire. I will take.
Ooh, the misdirection charm. Okay.
Yes.
Going for a way to screw with me already. All right.
Okay, so then that.
Now you could have got a squire and then that as well, because you had enough left over. So if you want to, you can get a squire.
Can I do that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That seems to be so far the strategy that I've seen early is grab those as quickly as possible
Right.
when you have extra left over. In fact, I probably could have done it last turn, but didn't.
Okay, so everything's going to my used pile. Okay, and then we forgot to attack.
Right.
So my assistant would attack yours.
Yes. Normally the assistant would attack in phase 3. The assistant only has 1 attack, and the assistant I have only has 2 defense. So he doesn't.
They don't
They
die.
don't kill each other. They just
Right.
kind of beat each other up in the middle of the field, and that's it. So, all right. So that's the end of your turn.
Mm-hmm.
So then I scored this guy. So I'm going to gain another glory, which I've already magically moved up to, and we'll go ahead and put him back, because I'll cull him as well. I have nothing left in my bag, so everything from my use pile goes back into my bag. We have a ghost, a spell, and some quiddity. So let's see what we got. Ooh, yay. Spell. So I go to my ready area, but no ghosty. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Fairly good. I think I will get the Knight of Camelot. Or you know what? I could hold off and try and get the Minotaur as well, which I think is pretty good. So why don't we do this? I will go ahead and cast my spell, which gains me 2 quiddity automatically.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do, just to remind myself, is change that to a 2 and put it back into my pool.
Okay.
And then it says that I can draw and roll 1
One
die.
more die.
So I will go ahead and do that. And I get a white, which means more quiddity. Whoa, 2. All right, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay,
Wow.
in that case, then I will get a squire for 1 and a Minotaur for 8, which is 9, but it allows me to get an extra quarry because of that dude, the
Yeah,
squire.
that's like really good.
Yeah, it's really good. So we'll go ahead and move that over there and call it a day. Your turn.
Okay, so I score, so I get
You get
1
1
glory.
glory, chasing me down.
And then all my dice are used up, so I'm going to put them back in here.
Yep. All right, I have 6 dice. All right, look, I have an assistant. Yay. Or squire. Oh, I didn't get the squire. All right, this is one of the fun things about Quarriors is not getting the rolls that you want. Looks like 6. So I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get a squire and get a Pegasus. Call it a day. There you go.
All right. All right, so I'm going to score him. So
You're going to gain 1 glory, and now you're on top and tying me.
It's a
Yep.
tie
Now, do you want to
game.
cull him?
Yes.
Okay. And then, how many do you have left in your bag there? Minotaur. This is where the game could suddenly change. 6. Yep, there you go. Perfect. Here comes the pain. Yes!
Oh, I didn't get him.
Yes! Okay.
Okay, so I rolled 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to spend 1 and bring out the assistant,
Sure.
which leaves me 2, 4, 6.
Mm-hmm.
I will.
Now, do you want your pixie?
I want a pixie now.
Take your pixie.
Okay, so then I have nothing to attack.
Nothing to attack, so all good.
So
Technically, you attack before you capture, but it hasn't come up into play where we really have anyone to attack yet because we haven't been rolling our creature faces. So 6. All right, 3 quiddity dice and 3 potential creature dice. Let's see what we can get. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a ghosty, a big ghosty. All right, so the ghost is level 2, so I'll bring him out with the 2. The assistant is level 1, so I'll bring him out with the 1. That'll leave me with 2 left over, which isn't going to do very much. But I think I will send my ghost questing, and then I'm going to leave him in here. So he'll attack you, he won't kill you.
put your block on the.
Oh yeah, thank you, yes. I don't think I'll have one with a ghost, but yeah, good to know. Okay, so he attacks, nothing happens. I could capture from the quarry, but I only have 2 left, so I can't really get anything. So those will go to my use pile, and then I'll leave him there. So you will score and get 1 glory and take the lead. And then you can cull him, or you don't have to cull him. I've been making a mistake when I've said that. You can
So I
actually
can
cull.
cull one.
Yeah, you can
I can
cull
cull one of those.
anything in your used pile. Yes,
All right,
correct.
so
And
I
he
have-
goes to your used pile.
Alright, so I have 2 dice left in my bag, and
Yep.
then everything else is going to go back in here.
Correct.
5.
Oh, and you get a reroll and a Minotaur. Isn't that nice? All right, this is where some of the pain may be coming. So the Minotaur may be going after my ghost.
Oh!
Yes!
2,
No Minotaurs for you. They're hiding in their caves.
Alright, so 2, 4, 6.
So the spell goes into your ready area, and it's a reaction spell. So you're gonna you can play that or use that spell whenever I roll dice and put them in my active pool.
Okay. So I will spend 1 and bring out
Sure.
the assistant, which leaves me 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to actually get the growth.
Yeah, the growth trump's pretty good.
Alright, so that goes over.
All right, so score creatures. All right, so I am the only one on the hunt for Excalibur. So instead of scoring the 2 glory for the ghost, I'm actually going to score the 3 glory for the quest. So I'm going to go all the way up to 5. He is going to come back to my used pile. He is not destroyed, so it's not a case of beginning to use the ghost spell. But more importantly, I immediately get the Quartifact die, and I get to roll it and see what I get. And survey says I get the question mark. The question mark says gain 1 glory. Well, wasn't that exciting? That was more of the failed hunt for Excalibur. And then I will score this guy as well, which gives me another 1, so I'll go up to 6. And I am actually going to go ahead and cull one of my basic quiddity dice.
Shouldn't you be at 7 since your question mark gives you 1 glory?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I was thinking it was giving me 1 quiddity. Yes, correct. Sorry, 1 quiddity is not 1 glory. So that goes back here because that's an immediate effect. 3 of the sides of a quest die have an immediate effect. 3 of them have a quartifact or a version of the quartifact. So he is going to go, I've already culled someone, and then I'm going to go ahead and get 6 new dice out. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and an assistant. All right, we'll bring the assistant out for 1, and then with 5 left over, I think I'm going to get another ghost. I really like the ghosts. All right, all of you.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Could I have used this spell to
Yes,
make you re-roll that one? To roll that one, or re-roll one of those?
That's a great question. After an opponent rolls the dice in their active pool, cast the spell to force the opponent to re-roll up to 2 dice of your choice. The question is, does the Quartifact die hit your active pool when you roll it? That's a good question. Let me see. Okay, so the rules technically say that the player rolls the die, but it doesn't necessarily say it hits their active pool. So that's a great question, probably one that we can post online and find out an answer to, but that is a really good question because these are from the same set. You know, the other thing that we forgot to talk about real quick, when I scored this, I had the level 2 ghost here. There is a level, not a cost number in the upper left, and you need to have creatures equal to or above that level. They don't need to all be level 2. You could have 2 level 1s here and still complete it. So because he was level 2, he was able to complete that quest, which is good. So the question is, before I move forward here, did you want to potentially use your reroll to make me reroll any of these guys at all?
No, I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah, I would think you would wait for the Minotaur to come up.
Yeah.
So we had 5. I got a second ghost, so we are good on that. So over to you.
Okay, so I'm gonna score mine.
Yes, because our assistants keep battling on the
Battling
battlefield
each other,
and not
so
hitting each other.
I move up one
You're
there.
gonna move up 1. And you saw also where I was at 2 and I jumped up to 7, all because of the questing. The questing, when you can achieve it, is really good in terms of scoring really quickly.
Okay, so now I can cull a dice. So I'm gonna cull this one.
That's a good point too. I could have culled the dice from achieving that quest. I've culled quite a bit already, so I'm not in the mood to be cull-a-maniac over here.
Okay, so does this one stay here still?
Yeah, that will stay there until you go ahead and use it.
Until I use it,
Yeah,
okay.
but the assistant will go into your use
Because
pile.
we've already scored him.
Yeah.
All right.
The War Pegasus. Man, we are just rolling really bad.
Yeah.
This is one of the things, and we'll talk about this a little bit at the end of my thoughts, but Quarriors is completely dice-based, so there's a lot of luck involved.
Okay, so he's a level 1, so I'm going to spend 1 to bring him out.
Yep.
I can't send him questing because he's not level 2.
You could send him questing, but he's not going to achieve it, so.
Okay.
Right.
3, so I have 2, 3, 4, 5 quiddity. Okay, I have 5 quiddity. So I am going to get the ghost so you don't take all of them.
Okay, perfect.
Alright, so all that gets moved to the used pile.
And your dude would actually attack me before you acquired, and this is where it's going to matter because he is actually going to deal 2 damage to
That's
me
right.
and kill him, and then
I would
you
acquire my dice here.
Right, correct,
Okay.
correct. All right, so my turn. I don't score glory because you killed my assistant, my lonely assistant, my little assistant.
He wasn't doing a very good job.
I guess not. All right, I have 5 dice and I have nothing else left, so all of these will go back into the bag of tricks, which means I have the option of possibly getting a ghost, which is really nice. So let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get some big ones here. No, we get a basic quiddity die. All right, but we do have a Minotaur, a Pegasus, and 2 Squires in play. Let's see what happens. All right, no Minotaur. So I have 2, 4, 5, 6, and 2.
And I'm going to use my spell and make you re-roll those.
These guys?
those 2.
Very smart. Okay. All right. Oh!
Yes!
That was very well spent. All right, so 2, 4, 6, 8. I will go ahead and get another Minotaur, and everything will go over into my use pile. That was painful. Well, I guess if there's anything good about it, though, the most I could have done is put them into my ready area because they're both level 0s, so they couldn't have gone questing, but it still does change 2 glory, so
Yes.
that was actually pretty good.
Okay.
All right, all you.
So I'm going to score him.
You're going to score him and gain 2 glory, so you're going to go up to 6. And then you can cull if you want to cull.
I will do a blue one.
Okay.
And then he can move. I move him to my use pile.
Correct.
And
You know what's funny that I've noticed about this version of Quarriors, in all the other versions, even with the corrupted stuff, we would go after this card really quick, really fast. And now because of the questing, we're like wanting creatures and going as fast as
Right.
possible to get creatures. And try and get out there. So it's interesting the dynamics that just one mechanic can change. Because this was, at least for us, I don't know about anyone else, I'd love to hear what you guys play, but for us, this is a pretty popular die usually. It's just that in this case, we're trying to get as many creatures out as fast as possible, so.
Woo!
I'm gonna cheat and make you reroll. Alright, he's level 3, wow.
So I'm gonna have to spend 3
Yep.
to bring him out.
You spend nothing to bring him
Bring
out.
him out, and then it gives me 2, which I can't do anything with that.
Presuming you're gonna send somebody
I'm
or
gonna
both of them questing, or actually, so let's think about this. So he's got 9 defense. There's nothing that I'm probably going to be able to bring out that'll kill him for 9 defense if I go to challenge him.
Okay. Well,
So actually, it may benefit you to leave your squire in your ready area because he'll give you 1 glory for scoring in your ready area. So that's actually not bad. It's actually not bad. All right.
Go Minotaur.
Cool. Yeah, you're probably going to get that. So let's see how this changes everything here. 1 ghost, a squire, and a spell. Alright, nothing. Spell and a lot of quiddity. Alright, so I can cast the spell right now. So I can gain 2 quiddity and then draw and roll a die, which I will do. And it's basic quiddity. Alright, so I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. I'm getting another Minotaur. Alright, I'm building up forces. Sooner or later it's going to be a big turn here. Alright, your turn. You're going to gain 3. 1, 2, 3. You're going to go ahead and you put him to your use pile. You're also going to get 1 from your squire and go to 10. And then you could cull 2 dice because you're scoring with 2 guys. So you could cull 2 of the dice that were in your use pile.
Hold on. When we scored him, I got 3.
No, you got 1. You got 1 for him, and then you got 3 for the Minotaur. So you got 4.
Okay.
So you went from 6 to 10.
Right. Okay.
And then you
Now I
gain
get to...
your Quartifact die and roll it immediately. And you get the sword. That is Excalibur. When attacking, the first defending creature chosen by each player has 0 defense. That's fairly good. So that stays in your ready area and you're good to go with that.
Okay.
You have now achieved Excalibur and
Yay!
are going to slaughter the first Minotaur you go after.
That's
But
right.
it still will take 2 guys to go after him. So okay.
All you?
No, that was just your score phase. Now you draw your 6 dice and go.
Oh.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
These dice over here mess with me.
I know, or yeah, we normally don't use these playmats. We actually just kind of printed them out for this version or this filming. We normally just kind of have like all our dice that we use way off to the side from us. So it's a lot of creatures.
So I can bring him out for 0.
Correct.
And then these 2 each take 1.
That is correct.
So I'll use 2 and bring those out. And then technically, I could send these 2 questing.
Yep.
I'll put my...
Yep, because that's going to give you 2. Each of them is a level 1, so you'll have level 2 worth of quest people there.
So I have 3 quiddity left over. So I can take another Pegasus.
Yep, seems good. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is I'm going to spend my 2 quiddity and I'm going to bring out my Minotaur. Because he's just enraged. And then I'm going to send him questing. Now, he's a level 2, which is good, but because there's already a character questing, I have to fight the characters that are there at the quest. So I have a 5 attack and a 7 defense versus a 3 attack and a 4 defense. So I'm going to live, Mrs. Tox's character is going to die. She's gone from the quest, she doesn't gain any glory, but I do gain a glory for killing a character on that quest. You actually, as the attacker or the aggressor, get 1 glory for each character you can kill. So while these squires are tremendously great in adding 3 defense, if they end up dying, you're also going to be giving up glory when they're yours and they get slaughtered by the attacker. So that is the end of my turn, because I can't cast these 2, I don't have enough. So those would have been spent, they all would have gone to my discard pile, and I am done. Discard pile, it's hard to discard dice.
Right, used pile.
Dice pile.
Okay, so I have nothing to score.
Thank goodness. I might make a comeback here.
last 4 dice.
Oh, or not. 2 Minotaurs. 2 Minotaurs raging. Now, you can, if you roll somebody, you can use that Excalibur to go a questing with. So.
Oh, yeah, because that would give you 0 defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But the good thing is, because of the Minotaur, he has, his name is, was it Manaxmone or something like that? Manxome, I think is how you say it. Manxome. It's a killer name. So we just call him the Minotaur. But it says, cannot be destroyed by an opponent's attack unless the opponent is attacking with at least 2 creatures. So, roll well.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
Well, I might have a... Oh, no.
You might not have an... Oh, yes, because you can gain 2 quiddity from him. Yeah.
Okay. What does that do?
That's pretty good. So whenever you summon the Ancient Guide, you may summon another creature for free. And you have the starred side, which says each of your creatures accompanying Ancient Guide receives +1 defense.
Okay, so I'm immediately going to do this and get 2.
Yep.
And go get another dice.
Seems pretty good. This is going to be... Yeah, I think you're going to slaughter. Yeah, all right.
Get 1 more. So it gives me 3, 4, 5.
So you can cast your Strong Guide. Yep, so cast him for 3.
Okay, but then I won't have enough to bring these out.
No, you will.
Okay.
Because cast him for 3,
Okay.
and then you can bring out any other creature for free.
So I want to bring out the
Exactamundo.
stronger one.
And then spend 1 to bring out your other one. Boy, it's a good thing someone told you to get a guide earlier, huh?
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And you still have 1 left over. So now you can send... You could send...
these 2.
Yep. And attach...
Well, should I use the lower one?
It doesn't matter in terms of levels other than the levels for the quest. So in other words, if you score a level 1 Minotaur or a level 3 Minotaur, you still get 3 glory if they're in your ready area.
Okay, so this one would be 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I could attach this to these 2?
You can, and come up and slaughter me in the quest area. Yeah, you're basically attaching it to the Minotaur or to the guide.
Yeah.
But because what happens is you need to attack with 2 people to defeat my Minotaur, which you are. You only are attacking with 6, but the Excalibur turns the first defending creature I have to a 0 defense, so it totally slaughters him. So you're going to gain 1 glory from that, which is pretty good. And I have the lock, and the lock is when one of your creatures is destroyed, you move them to your dice bag instead of your use pile, so he'll go back into my dice bag and hide away with his other chicken Minotaur friends.
Okay, and then I can't do anything with my 1.
I don't think you need to at this point, so that's pretty darn good. This could be the end of the game here. Let's see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on. 5, 6. Okay, I got a Minotaur. Let's see what we can do. And I got the Minotaur side, so let's see what we can do here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I am going to go questing with all 3 of these guys. And I am going to end up attacking you for a total of 7 attack. So you have to defend against 7.
So I have 7 total.
Right, so you're going to, well, he's going to die because there's 2 people, at least 2 people attack.
Right.
And he only has 5 defense. And
this
then
one only has 2 defense.
So he's going to die as well. Alright, so they go away, and I killed 2 creatures, so I get 2 glory. And that's it. I might actually do something here. Alright.
Okay, so I score.
Oh! 1, 2, 3, I don't do anything. Yeah, that's the end of the game. That was good. Your Minotaurs won it for you.
Yeah.
I had a shot, but it wasn't in the cards or in the dice in this case. So that's Quarriors. The first thing to look at is components. Now, a lot of you have recently seen my Lord of the Rings, the dice building game review, which was not that favorable to WizKids. In fact, in all honesty, it put a pretty sour taste in my mouth in terms of the quality of their components. I had a lot of problems with dice. The cards were really, really poorly made in my opinion. I'm very happy to say that the components from this set of Quarriors are great. The artwork on the cards are absolutely beautiful. I really was happy with all of the dice that I got in this set. There was one or two that were a little smudged, and honestly I think it's just because the design was really complex. But other than that, the quality was just by far superb compared to the Lord of the Rings from what we got in that last set. So component wise, I was really happy. The other thing I was really happy with were these oversized dice. They're really, really nice. They're a little bit larger than the regular quarry dice that you could capture in the wilds, but they're very clear. It's very easy to see what the symbols are. And again, the card art for them really separated them out. They have that golden border, which made them a little more special. Just really, really well done overall. And then finally, the rule book is actually much improved. The previous Quarriors rulebooks I have always felt were, while very funny and very snarky, and I thought that was a really cool addition and piece of Quarriors, there was a lot of questions that I had sometimes in reading those rulebooks. This one is really good. It gets into a lot of detail in terms of text, so there is a little bit of reading and not a lot of pictures, but it explains it all very, very well. I was really, really happy with that. So in terms of gameplay, this is a very luck-driven game, and you have to know that going into this. I personally have enjoyed many different flavors of Quarriors, but I go into it understanding that it is a 100% luck-driven game. Maybe 99.9%, but as you just saw in some of the gameplay, you can go after some of the highest creatures, and it doesn't mean that you're going to roll them every time. So there is more tactics than strategy involved with Quarriors, but going into that, as long as you understand that, it can make for a really fun time. Gameplay-wise, when things come together, it works really well, especially the questing. Quarriors in general has always been kind of a hit and miss, pardon the pun, type of gameplay. When the combos work together, they're great. When they don't work together, they feel you just left out like, sitting on the sidelines like you just missed another roll again. However, what I really do like about the gameplay in this, the questing has added a whole new realm to playing Quarriors that I really, really like. You want to, you're driven to go questing, not just to get the benefits of the questing, but to get up there and start attacking other people that have already been questing, because you want to get glory for killing their characters as well. There really is a sense of urgency once somebody starts questing that everyone jumps in. In a 3 and 4 player game, questing really comes out and shines really, really well. In fact, I'll go as far as to say this game is really built for 3 and 4 players. While you can go questing in a 2-player game, and as you saw in our 2-player example, it is fun, it is really much more fun when you get into 3 and 4 because you have 2 opponents between you and achieving your quest that could pull anything out of their bag, come after you, or start scoring their own glory and trying to race you to achieve the total needed to win. So when you get to 3 and 4 is really where you get to a lot more gameplay experiences that are more tense, more fun, and give you more important decisions to make. It's still fun 2-player, but it really shines in 3 and 4 player. Which leads us into the experience. Again, the experience of Quarriors, if you don't like luck-driven games, is probably not going to leave you very happy. But if you like dice, if you like multiple colored dice and all the different symbols and all different things, and a game that will really never leave you in analysis paralysis, this is a really fun time sitting down at the table. One of the things that I really personally like about Quarriors is this is a great game with kids. Kids love the colored dice. It's very easy to keep track of. The rules are very simple and straightforward. At most, you're maybe pulling off a 3-die or 4-die combo sometimes. There are games where you're going to pull off more than that, but when you're playing with kids, it's a great way to teach them math. It's a great way to teach them combinations. And for us, playing with 5, 6, 7-year-old kids, they have loved this. Now, the challenge becomes when you're playing with a strategic set of gamers, it's adults. This is not a filler game, so this is something that's going to take an hour, maybe an hour and a half to get through in a 4-player game. Our 2-player games can go about 30 minutes. a 3-player game about 30 to 45 minutes, and a 4-player game about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how much attacking and thwarting and stopping and cajoling is going on. I probably should have used words that had Q in that, but I just don't know that many even after playing all of this. But essentially, the experience of playing Quarriors comes down to going in and accepting that this is a luck-driven game and having a fun time playing it, or not, and quite frankly, staying away from it. So, overall, at the end of the day, I think that this is the best expansion of all of the expansions of Quarriors. Prior to this, I really liked the Corrupted Rise of the Demons expansion that came out, but it was very small and didn't add an over amount to the game. This, with the questing, and quite frankly, with some really good characters I feel that have been added to the game, really adds quite a bit to the game. Now, this is going to be one of our back and forth games. I don't really like giving 2 ratings to a game, but I really feel that I have to for this. If you like Quarriors or luck-based games, this is a crit of a game. You will have a lot of fun, you will enjoy all the artwork, you will enjoy rolling all the dice, you'll enjoy fighting over the quests. It is just, there's not much not to enjoy. However, if you don't like luck-driven games, it will be a miss for you. If you are someone who is, I don't like a lot of dice, I don't like things based on luck, I want to control my gameplay area as much as possible, this will be a complete and utter miss for you, because while there are some strategic moves to make, they are very few and far between, and it is really much more of a tactical game than a strategic game. So while it is flip-flopping a little bit, it's really good to know that depending on the type of gamer you are, and more importantly, the type of game group that you play with. So, I hope that that amount of information has helped you out. This has been a longer review than we normally do, but there's a lot to it, and I wanted to make sure that we covered everything for everybody from every angle we could. We want to hear from you. Feel free to leave your comments below on the YouTube channel. You can, of course, join in the discussion on Facebook, on Twitter, and Google Plus by searching Crits Happen, or at our homepage at critshappen.com. But, until we see you next time, we'd like to thank Dragon's Lair once again for providing us a copy to review for you, and we hope that you enjoy all your dice rolling and questing time inside Quarriors Quartifacts. Thanks so much for watching. Keep rolling those dice, and we hope they're all crits.